Imagine, living a comfortable life with your family, working your trade, maybe play music for your community, and then suddenly everything is ripped away. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the reality that Solomon Northup faced. And this deep dive takes us into his really chilling autobiography, 12 Years a Slave. And we're going to explore, I guess, some of the nuances of his story that continue to resonate even today.
Yeah, and I think what's so fascinating about Northup's story is that, it's not simply a tale of survival, but it really offers a glimpse into the complexities of slavery, a psychological impact that it had on both the enslaved and the enslavers. And he doesn't just, recount events. He really paints a vivid picture of what it was like to have your identity, your freedom, your very humanity stolen from you.
It really is remarkable.
Yeah.
You mentioned his skills, and it's important to remember that Northup wasn't just any laborer. He was
Yeah.
a skilled carpenter, a carriage driver, even a talented violinist, and yet none of that could protect him from the horrors of the slave trade.
Yeah, and this raises an important question about the precariousness of freedom for Black Americans at that time. Even in the North where slavery was outlawed, the threat of kidnapping and forced enslavement was a constant fear. Northup's story really serves as a stark reminder of how easily freedom could be snatched away.
Absolutely. And we learn right from the start, Northup is a family man, a man of faith, and a man who takes pride in his work. Then in a flash, he finds himself lured into a trap by two men, offering this temporary job.
Yeah.
It's almost unfathomable how quickly his life takes this horrific turn.
Yeah, and the way that he describes his kidnapping is chilling. The sense of betrayal, the confusion, the sudden realization that he's been drugged and imprisoned.
Yeah.
He goes from being a respected member of his community to essentially a commodity, stripped of his name and his identity. Imagine the psychological trauma of that experience.
It really is hard to even comprehend. And then reading about his journey south, chained alongside, other kidnapped individuals like Eliza and her children, it's just heartbreaking.
I'm
They're
sure.
treated like livestock, their humanity completely disregarded.
Yeah, that scene where Eliza is separated from her children is particularly gut-wrenching. She pleads with the slave trader, desperate to keep her family together, but her cries fall on deaf ears. It's just a stark reminder of the cruelty that was inherent in the slave trade, the deliberate tearing apart of families for profit.
It's difficult to read those passages without feeling a deep sense of empathy for Northup and the others who endured this horrific journey. He witnesses so much suffering, so much pain, and yet he continues to fight for his own survival, his own sanity.
And that's what makes his story so powerful. Despite the horrors he faces, his spirit isn't completely broken. He never loses sight of his own humanity, even when surrounded by such inhumane treatment.
Right? His first owner, William Ford, is depicted as a relatively kind man, at least compared to what Northup will experience later. Ford seems to recognize Northup's talents, allows him some autonomy, even listens to his ideas.
Right. But it's crucial to remember that even under a kind master, Northup was still denied his basic human rights. He was still someone else's property, subject to their whims and decisions. His fate was always precarious, hanging by a thread.
And that thread snaps when Ford falls into financial trouble and ends up loaning Northup to John Tebow, a man Northup describes as cruel, volatile, and spiteful. This encounter marks a stark shift in Northup's narrative, doesn't it?
Absolutely. With Tebow, we see the true brutality of slavery laid bare. Northup is constantly on edge, trying to anticipate Tebow's every whim to avoid punishment. He's subjected to physical and psychological abuse, and the threat of violence hangs over him every single day.
Yeah. It's in these moments that you really see Northup's strength of character emerge. He's not just passively accepting his fate. He's constantly assessing his situation, looking for ways to survive, and even fighting back when necessary.
These confrontations with Tebow are pivotal because they show us that Northup's spirit hasn't been completely broken. He's willing to risk his life to defend his dignity, even if it means facing even harsher consequences. It highlights the resilience of the human spirit, even in the face of unimaginable cruelty.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not just, a matter of standing up to Tebow verbally. We're talking about physical altercations. With Tebow wielding a hatchet in one instance and a heavy oak log in another, these aren't just disagreements, they're life or death struggles.
It's almost hard to believe the level of danger Northup faced on a daily basis. And the fact that he chose to fight back knowing the potential consequences speaks volumes about his courage and determination.
Exactly. These weren't impulsive acts of defiance. They were calculated risks driven by a deep-seated desire to maintain some semblance of control over his own life. Even in that horrific environment, he was refusing to be completely subjugated.
After one particularly harrowing confrontation, Northup decides to risk everything and make a run for it. He ends up hiding in the swamps for days, dodging not only his pursuers, but also the dangers of the Louisiana wilderness.
Hmm.
It's a testament to his resourcefulness and sheer will to survive.
Yeah, and that escape attempt, though ultimately unsuccessful, is a crucial turning point in Northup's narrative. It underscores his unwavering hope for freedom, his refusal to give up even when the odds are stacked against him.
Eventually, hunger and exhaustion force him to return to Ford, who, to his credit, intervenes and manages to convince Tebow to sell Northup. You'd think this would be a positive development, but instead, Northup finds himself sold to Edwin Epps, a man who will become his master for the next decade.
And Epps is depicted as the epitome of a cruel slave owner. He's cunning, ruthless, and driven by profit. Under Epps, Northup experiences the full brutality of the cotton plantation system, a system designed to extract every ounce of labor from its enslaved workforce.
Northup goes from skilled craftsman to essentially a cog in the machine of the cotton plantation.
Hmm.
He's forced to work from dawn till dusk, picking cotton under the watchful eye of an overseer. He writes about the backbreaking labor, the constant fear of punishment, the feeling of being reduced to a mere work animal.
But Epps, recognizes Northup's intelligence and adaptability. He sees an opportunity to exploit Northup's skills for his own gain and rents him out to work at a sugar plantation during harvest season.
So it's not just about picking cotton. Northup finds himself working in a variety of roles, from cutting sugarcane to operating a sugar mill. It's grueling work, but it offers a slight reprieve from the constant tyranny of Epps.
Right, and this shift to the sugar plantation highlights the complex economic realities of slavery. Enslaved people weren't just agricultural laborers. They were valuable assets to be deployed in any way that maximized profit for their owners.
It's during this time that Northup encounters a glimmer of hope. He tries to bribe a steamboat captain to help him escape. But the captain, while sympathetic to Northup's plight, ultimately backs down, recognizing the immense risks involved. It's a devastating setback for Northup.
Yeah, this failed attempt reinforces just how difficult it was for enslaved people to gain their freedom. Escape was incredibly dangerous, and even with outside help, the chances of success were slim. The system was designed to keep them trapped.
And then there's Patsy, a young woman who endures horrific abuse at the hands of Epps Northup, witnesses her being brutally whipped, forced to participate in her punishment. It's a deeply disturbing scene that reveals the depths of depravity inherent in the system of slavery.
Patsy's suffering becomes a turning point for Northup. It strengthens his resolve to escape, to break free from this cycle of violence and oppression. But it also highlights the moral dilemmas he faces, forced to be complicit in the very system that is destroying him.
Northup's observations about his fellow enslaved people are also incredibly insightful. He dispels the myth that they were content with their lot in life, that they didn't yearn for freedom. He sees their quiet acts of resistance, their longing for dignity and autonomy.
He recognizes that even in the most dehumanizing environments the human spirit can endure, there's a constant undercurrent of hope, a belief that things can change, that freedom is possible.
And that a ray of hope arrives in the form of Samuel Bass, a carpenter with abolitionist views who was hired by Epps to build a new house. Northup, recognizing a kindred spirit, cautiously shares his story with Bass.
Yeah, Bass is, a crucial figure in Northup's story. He represents that network of abolitionists who are working tirelessly to undermine slavery. And his willingness to help Northup, despite the immense personal risk, is truly inspiring.
Yeah, they have to be so careful. They secretly, write letters to Northup's friends in New York pleading for help. Can you imagine the anxiety of waiting for a response? Weeks turn into months and hope starts to dwindle.
Yeah, it's a race against time. Will the letters reach their destination? Will Northup's friends even believe his story after all these years? It's a testament to Bass's unwavering commitment that he keeps his promise to help, even when it seems like all hope is lost.
And thankfully, one of those letters reaches Henry B. Northup, a lawyer and an abolitionist who happens to be an old friend of Solomon's. He immediately sets out for Louisiana to find Solomon.
The tension really mounts here. Will Henry reach Solomon before Epps discovers the plan? What will it be like for them to come face to face after 12 years of separation? It's almost too much to bear.
And the way Northup describes their reunion in the cotton fields is both joyful and heartbreaking. He's finally free, but he's also a changed man, forever marked by his experience.
And it's important to note that even with legal documents and the sheriff on his side, the journey back to freedom isn't easy. They have to confront Epps, expose his lies, and navigate a system designed to uphold slavery.
This is 1853 in Louisiana. The risks are incredibly high.
Right.
One wrong move and everything can fall apart.
But what strikes me is the speed at which everything unfolds. Within days, Northup is on his way back north, reunited with his wife and children. It's a powerful testament to Henry's determination and to the power of human connection.
But Northup doesn't just fade back into obscurity after his ordeal. He uses his newfound freedom to become a voice for the voiceless. He tells his story at public gatherings, sharing the stage with prominent abolitionists like Frederick Douglass.
And within a year, he publishes his autobiography, 12 Years a Slave. It becomes an instant sensation, a powerful indictment of slavery, corroborating many of the horrors depicted in Harry Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin.
It's amazing to think about. He goes from being silenced, stripped of his name and his freedom, to having his voice amplified on a national stage. It's a true act of defiance, a way of reclaiming his power.
And his book isn't just a personal account, it's a searing social commentary offering nuanced observations about the complexities of slavery. He explores the psychological effects on both the enslaved and the enslavers, forcing readers to confront the dehumanizing nature of the institution.
Reading Northup's account today, it's impossible not to be moved by his resilience, his determination, and his unwavering belief in the power of hope. He endured the unimaginable and emerged from the darkness with a story that continues to resonate with readers centuries later.
Northup's story is a stark reminder of the fragility of freedom and the importance of fighting against injustice in all its forms. It's a story that should never be forgotten, a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit.
Absolutely. It really makes you think about the countless other stories of resilience and resistance that are out there waiting to be told. And it challenges us to examine our own roles in shaping a more just and equitable world.
If this deep dive into Solomon Northup's harrowing experience has resonated with you, we encourage you to seek out other stories like his. There's always more to learn, more to uncover, and more to do to ensure that such injustices never happen again.